Hello everyone, my name is Rob, welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. In this video I'm going to be giving you my match review of Australia versus New Zealand from the semi-finals of the Rugby League World Cup. So let's get started. Starting with the losing team, which was New Zealand, they put 14 points past Australia. They completed at 89%, they had 20 offloads, a tackle efficiency of 88.64%, but they had 8 errors to go with it as well. Now, I'm going to start by saying, in my prediction, I believe I went with Australia 48, New Zealand 12. I went with a big scoreline because what I'd seen from New Zealand, yes, they had some big blowouts, Jamaica being one of them, Ireland was still a comfortable score. The way that they'd been playing, to me, didn't look very good. Aside from the forwards, I didn't see anything of value from them coming into this game specifically. There was nothing about New Zealand's attack that excited me coming up against what Australia has put up defensively at this World Cup so far. And I am massively surprised and happy to be so wrong in my prediction for the way that New Zealand actually came out this time. And they lent into their dominance or ability to give themselves a lot of good field position with the forwards because they were brilliant tonight. Brandon Smith especially gives the forward pack so much more energy, gives their entire forwards so much more to build from. Because he really sets the tone down the middle. And players like Asfa Solomona, Papali'i, literally everyone in the forwards for New Zealand looked really effective today. And they did, when they were trying to spread the ball in the red zone, let's say, Australia's 20 metres and closer, they didn't look too effective, aside from the kick that got them the opening try of the game. But spreading the ball didn't look too effective. But in about the midfield area, when Australia weren't really expecting New Zealand to go at them, they found a lot of space. A lot of the times down the left-hand side with Mulitalo, that's where they seemed to find a lot of their opportunities. And got themselves a try, I believe, in the might be the first half. I think that was the try that gave them the lead at the end of the first half. They went down that left-hand side a few times, attacking Australia from the midfield when they weren't expecting it, and finally caught them out and got themselves the lead at half-time. And they were the better team. Defensively, they were so strong. Now, there were a couple of errors from Australia. I think there was at one point when New Zealand only had one error, Australia had about 6. So in the first half, Australia allowed New Zealand to get a lot of field position because of a kick on the full from Ben Hunt, a few knock-ons. I think one was from Nathan Cleary, one was from Josh Adokar. So it gave New Zealand good field position to attack Australia's try line. So the pressure that they could pile on was extensive, but as I say, in the red zone they didn't look too effective, but yeah, in midfield they looked brilliant, and the forwards looked so strong and effective. And then if they did turn the ball over close to Australia's try line, their defensive work rate was excellent, limiting the number of meters. Bit of a freak try that they conceded with Josh Adokar, which I'll get onto when I talk about Australia. But yeah, I didn't expect New Zealand to do this with the attack that they've been bringing to this World Cup against the defence that Australia's been bringing to this World Cup. I didn't expect this, and as I said, I'm happy to be so wrong about a prediction. I think we all expected Australia to win because it's Australia and New Zealand, we know the calibre of players that New Zealand's got. A lot of people would have thought the gap's not going to be as big as I assumed it would be. But yeah, I think most people assumed Australia would win. But for New Zealand to go out like this, there's got to at least be some pride in knowing that this is probably their most complete performance. And they did it in the semi-finals against Australia. So, yes, it's a loss, but they were the underdogs, and it was their best performance yet, and they put in a hell of a shift. So they should be very proud of that. Now moving on to the winning team, which was Australia. They put 16 points past New Zealand. They completed at 85%. They had 5 line breaks. They won in most of the meters gained stats and had 22 ineffective tackles. In the first half, they did some good things. They spread the ball here and there, and they looked okay. But I felt that they were somehow, it was just a feeling that they were a little bit lucky in the first half to be as close as they were. It was only 14-10 to New Zealand in the first half. But I got the impression that it could have been a 10-point lead or a 12, 14, 16-point lead based on the dominance that New Zealand had in terms of attack and the amount of pressure that they were putting on Australia in defence. So yeah, it's just a feeling of them being a little bit lucky for the scoreline being that close, but that's not to say that they should have been completely battered in the first half. But one thing that did help was that, as I mentioned, freak try for Josh Addo-Carr. Now, when you look at the replay, Ben Hunt does actually look over to the far left corner and I guess is expecting... It was probably talked about. He's not just going to do it for the sake of it. It was a brilliant kick from Ben Hunt into the back left corner. Rapana is just kind of in two minds about letting it bounce or going for it. So there's a mistake from him there, but Josh Addo-Carr, at full speed, catches that ball brilliantly, puts it down for a try. Absolutely brilliant. And that's the kind of look Australia needed, because it didn't really feel like they were going to get anything. They did try and spread the ball, but it wasn't really effective enough. And they did what New Zealand did and tried to spread it in sort of like the midfield area. Were close to some line breaks, but not quite getting there. But that sort of opened the game up for them. It got them into the game. It felt like they were a bit lacking. And it was just almost like a touch of luck that they needed. I'm sure it was well orchestrated. It just, in the moment, it felt like it was just a freak bit of luck. But it is something that Australia needed to get them going in this game. I thought from that point they'd start to run away with it. And I was thinking as the game would go on, that's when the quality of what Australia's been doing would start to show long term. But it didn't really go that way. But performance-wise, it was a constant battle. In the second half, Hunt and Grant in the hooker position were quality. They were doing things similar to Brandon Smith in that, they were showing so much pace down the middle. Ben Hunt isn't usually the type to do that, but will have a run at the line, if and when he needs to. But Harry Grant is similar to Brandon Smith in that regard, in the way he likes to attack the line from dummy half. Cleary wasn't always completely effective, but there were a couple times where New Zealand's defensive line looked a little bit open. He tried to attack the line, looked like he could have broken through. I think there was a good maybe 3 or 4 times he had a good go at the line and could have got his way through if someone was there supporting. Could have got a few offloads there. I think players like Murray, Crichton and Martin, just a little bit to the flanks and down the middle with Cameron Murray, were a handful today. Really effective. And you tend to get that with players like that have a good mix of height, weight, pace, and sort of a decent step in them as well. And all three of them have got bags of experience to go with it as well. And it was a great try from Cameron Murray, right beneath, right under the sticks to, right between the sticks to get the lead or to equalise 14-all, you tell New Zealand were just getting a little bit too tired. But those three were extremely effective to date. And yeah, the back three as well were also, you know, were pretty safe. Tedesco, Adokar, and you know, Holmes were put under a lot of pressure, but they dealt with it quite well for the most part. Yes, there were a lot of errors, but the second half, I think they only had 1 or 2 errors in the second half. But yeah, that back three was put under a hell of a lot of pressure, and they dealt with it extremely well. But yeah, it seemed that they relied on a lot of the fitness that they had left in the tank in the second half. Like in the last 30 minutes of the game, were really giving New Zealand a lot of pressure down the middle, and that's when you started to see the cracks in New Zealand. But this did feel like a slightly disjointed and incomplete performance from Australia. Yes, it's New Zealand, and I haven't really given New Zealand the credit that maybe they should have deserved. It just didn't feel like they were going to put up any kind of fight in this game. But given the players that they've got, it's never going to be easy, even for Australia, to have tons of freedom in the game. You know, Cameron Munster wasn't able to constantly do what he likes to do, wasn't able to always step through the line. Neither was James Tedesco, neither was Nathan Cleary. As I mentioned, he nearly broke the line but couldn't quite get through. There was a few line breaks here and there, but this was just a fantastic game. And yeah, I expected a battering. Based on the performances from the rest of this tournament, I expected a battering. And as much as I want to get my predictions right, I'm glad I didn't, and I'm glad that it kind of went this way. New Zealand were able to go out with a bang. Australia had to, you know, actually fight to get into the final and not just coast through. So, fair play to New Zealand for, you know, I guess turning it around and going out this way. And fair play to Australia for getting the job done eventually. And yeah, they move on to the final. We'll see who they get tomorrow. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any thoughts on the Australia versus New Zealand game, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with new content. You can also follow the social media accounts in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.